Guys, we're live. Um, One of the things we're gonna go over the Utah State game tonight. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy it. This is a perspective from three guys who have rewatched the game a little bit, or watched it for the first time last night on tape, so we can kind of watch it a little bit easier. And probably not as emotional as a lot of people were yesterday about the game and the way it went. I know that I had my personal opinions last night, and after reading some more things and watching the game this morning at 4 a.m.,
It's about
um,
when you watched it again.
yeah, I changed my mind a little bit on some of the things I thought. I mean, were there issues? Yes, there were, and we'll talk about that. But there's a lot of positive things to build on there, and some of those issues can be worked out that we saw today. And so we're just going to get right into it because we got a lot to cover. So I mean, Paul, let's get started with the O line. What did you see on the O line? Did you see the improvement that Kirk was giddy about, or not during the game? Because I know that you actually watched it twice through.
Right. I mean, the biggest thing that I saw was the way Utah State felt like they had to play defense. I mean, for most of the game, they went what looked like single coverage on any potential receiver, and they put 7, 8, 9, 10 guys near the line of scrimmage. They made it. The excuse me, the 90s Cowboys offensive line wasn't going to be able to block 10 guys. The way they were attacking the run, coming after Cade even, which made the pass protection even more impressive, really, because, I mean, they had kind of resolved. It appeared Utah State said, look, they were going to live and die really by the blitz. And, they did die a few times. We did make them pay for it. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I really thought the O-line did pretty well. Even in the running game situation, did we pop off any big runs? No. Did we at times abandon the run a little bit? Maybe. But overall, I would give the offensive line a passing grade.
What kind of a grade would you get it? Just
Again,
passing?
it was a B minus, right? There's room to improve, but overall, it's a passing grade. Would we have liked to have seen him like that 4th and 1 come up with a block, instead of LaShawn getting tackled in the backfield? Probably.
Let's talk about that 4th and 1. This is a situation where with Nate Stanley or Spencer Petras, we would have done the quarterback sneak and pushed him through over the 1 yard line we needed. Why do you think we used LaShawn Williams, which would take an extra 2 yards to get him going, to get over through that line?
Well,
Go ahead.
No, I mean, either one of you.
It could have just been the rotation, right? Where, they had kind of, and maybe they had predetermined that, they were going to use him in short yardage situations. And ultimately, I think they would have loved to have QB sneak, but you can't QB sneak on one leg. So.
Okay. I don't think that had much to do with from the sound of it. Was people are saying that about Cade, which in my case is, it sounds to me like they were just challenging the offensive line. That's what my crystal ball was telling me, because they did some things in this game that they usually don't do. Right. But I would love to see him get the backup quarterback. I'm having a brain fart. Come in. He's
Deacon Hill.
Deacon Hill come in and do those quarterback sneaks. Cade is the smallest quarterback Iowa has had in a long time. Like, he's only 6'1", 205, right? They're used to these big hog mollies at quarterback with rocking arms, just not as good of accuracy. Cade's the exact opposite. So I was but it sounds to me like, from what I'm hearing, is like I haven't said my take yet, but
Well, I want you to go ahead.
felt like they were just challenging the offensive line in those situations at every turn. If you notice, a lot of those short yardage situations, they still ran the ball with the running back. They brought in the heavy set, right? And they didn't care that Utah State had 10 guys up there and they were only blocking with 8.
Right.
That they still ran the ball like they were challenging the offensive line, right?
Go get it done.
If you go back and watch it, and maybe they'll be audibled in the future. Maybe they were told of something because the coaches were happy with this game. Just so y'all know,
I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I'm happy as well. Well, I'm happy because the coaches are happy. But
Kirk said as much in his press conference yesterday.
The only thing I remember from that, he did say something about they didn't have film on Utah State.
Correct.
Because it was a new defense.
Yep.
So they really didn't know what to expect. It's hard to teach something when you really don't know, right, how they're going to run their defense. So that was a part of the running game, right? That's just my take on the offensive line.
Look, they were well coached and well prepared. Utah State was, and they had kind of an element of surprise that Iowa didn't have. Right, we didn't have a lot of film on what they were going to do. They had a ton of new faces, from last year's team on offense and defense. So
and new defensive coordinator, they didn't know what to expect.
Exactly,
the coordinator is not somebody who has been a coordinator at a lot of different places where you know what they do, right? You could throw that same pitch at TCU and Colorado. TCU had no clue what Colorado was really going to do. Right. I mean, that's why I'm not jumping. I'm not jumping with the Iowa, and I'm not jumping with like Colorado because of that upset. Because the same way with Iowa, TCU didn't have tape on Colorado. I mean, you can look across the country on these week 1 games of just stuff happens. The bottom line is about this game is why the coaches are happy. The whole 2 deep play, guys, plus they won this game without – I mean, they just cruised the victory. Not one time did Utah State threaten. The reason why they decided to, put all the backups in, they were up 24-6. The backups gave up that touchdown drive, right?
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I mean, this game is not as bad as these crazy Iowa fans want it to believe just because they ran the same old, but they had a 14-0 lead, and they were just trying stuff, right? Challenging the O-line. If it was against Penn State, Iowa kicks a field goal in that situation, they wouldn't give it to the running back, right? Who knows? Maybe they would still run the quarterback sneak with Cade against Penn State. But they would have went up 17-0. This was against Utah State, a team I guarantee you that Phil Parker didn't even expect to score, right?
By the way, we kind of used that to set up Johnson's touchdown run later in the game, right? So we had the 4th and 1. We run up the middle. They stuffed it. When we came back after Wetjen's, really what should have been a touchdown run for Wetjen, we came back 1st and goal. And this time, instead of running around, we ran zone outside, and he went in untouched into the end zone.
And I think against, like I said, against somebody else, I was overconfident in the Utah State game because I didn't even think about Utah State not having film on the defense, right? Plus, I didn't think about how the coaches just wanted to get through this game healthy, right? They wanted to play a bunch of players. Like, they literally got everything they wanted, right? Yeah, the offense was boring Iowa football after they went up 14-0, but they were doing different things. They did 3 fly sweeps with Wetjen. He got 3 carries, right? And 2 of them, all 3 could have worked, which kind of tells you, I think it was Lachey missed his block on the 2nd run with Wetjen. Lachey would have got his block. There was a huge hole. Eric All was leading the way, but he got tripped in the backfield because Lachey missed his block. I mean, they did do some things that they did back when they had Smith Marset, right? They used Wetjen basically the same way they used Marset as a runner. but they don't use him as a receiver. Like I think they could take the top off of the defense, and maybe they will eventually. I was happy to see Wedgen get some time, but and it sounds like he's working hard, so maybe we will. But on that touchdown, I mean, I rewound it. You really couldn't see anything in between. Like it was just a judgment call. Like it was just too close. It just happened to go against Wedgen. That's all.
Are you saying?
I understand that. But I think it deserved a review because it was that close.
If they'd have ruled it a touchdown originally, I don't think they would have overturned it either.
Yeah, the ref literally was right there and saw it. That's what we couldn't tell from TV, but he was like right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Okay, maybe.
But anyway,
yeah, maybe. All right. Well, that's neither here, there, and there. And by the way, are you guys as surprised as I am as how fast he was? Because he had some jets.
Who?
The Wedgen. That first end around he did, man, he got around so fast. I thought, whoa.
That's why I've been wanting to see him on kick return, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he would have been the returner instead of KJ, he probably scores on that kick return because he's so much faster. I mean, he's a legit 4-3 guy, and that kick return at the open of the game, it appeared that it wasn't anything KJ did. It was all blocking. Like that was just beautifully blocked. I don't think KJ broke any tackles, but I don't know how deep you want me to get into this yet. But
what's on the what?
On the Iowa game, when you won?
Yeah, I mean, I want you to go deep. I just kind of want to, if it falls into what we're talking about, go deep on it. Right. If not, just wing it and do it anyway. Or follow up some of these questions that these people are putting up. There's a lot of good stuff.
I'll just say this. Like I said, I talked to my crystal ball today, and
okay.
People were there was just a bunch of emotions. Like this game was just so emotional, and the offense scoring right away on the first two possessions, that even the defense got soft, right? Everybody was just so excited, like offense was just going to score nonstop, right?
Right.
And, I mean, Cooper, he dropped that. Even he looked at his hands. He was like,
what happened?
Yeah, he was like, this ain't normal. He's like, I got to change these gloves. What the heck just happened?
Oh, you mean on that interception that he had literally in his hand? I go, why don't you squeeze those two hands a little tighter?
But not only that, like it was tipped, right? So it was like just like catching a little blooper. Like it was like right there, and even he didn't understand what the. So like even the defense, it was just an emotional game with the new offense. Cade, everybody was excited. They scored it was just the perfect storm.
Right.
Just like what happened to Texas Tech. They scored 17 points in the first quarter. They didn't score again until they go into overtime, and they ended up losing. At least Iowa. They finished, right? They did their thing and they finished. They got up 14-0, rode it out. It could have been 17-0, but they went for it on 4th and 1.
Yeah.
Like you have to look into it as a whole. But these people with so much hate for Brian, regardless of what they do, and Kurt.
The last minute of the first quarter, and then the last minute of the second quarter, Iowa left 14 points on the field, maybe more, in those 2 minutes of the game. We had the pass to Lachey that went off his hands. If he catches that, he waltzes into the end zone.
My crystal ball told me that on that catch you're talking about, or what could have been a catch, they think he would have had to have dived. It wouldn't have been a touchdown. They blame that on Cade.
Okay.
My crystal ball blamed that particular play on Cade. Because it would have been a great catch, apparently, and it was. I can't really remember, but it was out in front, like way out in front of him.
It was
a great catch.
He got his hands on it though, and then, what do they say? If you get two hands on it, you should catch.
Didn't get both hands.
Is this the Caleb Brown one that?
No, this is the Luke Lachey one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the Luke Lachey one, but Regini did drop his. Like his was counted as a drop.
Right.
Lachey's was not counted as a drop.
Okay.
because they said Cade threw it too out in front of him, he would have had to have dove like it wasn't a good pass.
What a great pass, but he got a hand on it. I feel like he almost could have got it.
He probably should have dove and just got the reception, but he was probably thinking touchdown too, like everybody else. So he, reached out for it. But
also, the other thing too, you give Utah State's credit for this, right? They partially blocked a punt, which still managed to go 37 yards. So that was impressive. Their kicker made a long field goal that looked like it was going to miss left. Then it looked like it was going to miss short, and it just somehow kind of snuck in.
Yeah. I got guys. Let me tell you here real quick. I was able to watch the entire first half of the game in between my grandson's 2 soccer games yesterday, but I had to watch it on my little cell phone, and I couldn't see a lot what was going on. So I was really anxious to get in front of the big screen last night and start watching the game. So the first half I never saw the second half at all, but I had it on my on YouTube radio where it streams on the way home from the game. So I got most of the fourth quarter listening to it in my car on the way home last night.
All right.
And so, like I said, so I didn't see any of the third quarter. I didn't even know what happened in the third quarter. Obviously, we didn't score in the third quarter. Obviously, after watching the third quarter, it wasn't worth watching.
That's not entirely true. It was worth watching, but
there's a lot of 3 and outs.
There was. But what was worth watching was, we put
there wasn't as many as you think. There was a couple. There wasn't a lot of 3 and outs. It was they got a first down, but they didn't drive all the way down the field, right?
Right.
They still completed some passes.
Correct.
It's worth a watch, in my opinion. I mean, I'll probably watch it again, like Paul. I'll probably watch it 5 times, honestly. But that pass to Regini was a good thrown ball, Eric. You're right.
Yeah. And I believe in the third quarter, we had a third and long, like a 3rd and 10. And Cade threw a really nice pass. I think it was to Lachey. Might have been Nico. It's either Nico or Lachey. It ended up being like a 12-yard reception on 3rd and 10. Which, if you go back to last year, that does not happen.
No, you're 100% accurate. I mean, this was not. I mean, think about this. Like, everybody at Iowa is so, like, the biggest thing was they're talking about the average yards per completion, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they would talk about the last couple of years, Petrus averaged, 6 yards of completion, whatever the heck it was. Yesterday, Cade averaged over 11 yards of completion, and we're still whining.
Right.
So, it's just – he completed 17 of 30. It was like, in my head, it's 60%. Somebody can fact check me.
Let's take note that his first pass of the game was a touchdown pass, and it went 39 or 35 yards.
Yeah.
When was the last time we had something like that happen?
The ball crossed the end zone in the air. I don't know that happened last season. We talked about this on previous episodes where I was like, it's hard to throw touchdown passes when the ball itself never actually crosses the goal line.
Well, that was a big thing. I had to actually explain that because that's the coaches protecting the team, right? They didn't want to pick or anything like that. They wanted to have a guaranteed field goal because their defense is so good, right? So you're 100% accurate on that. Like, I was telling people that you could probably count on both hands how many times they even threw the ball across the goal line last year. I mean, it may be one hand. I can't even remember. The only one I do remember is against Rutgers. Oh, no, there was 2 because against Nevada they threw it up to Brecht in the end zone. But other than that, I can't think of.
I think we tried it in the bowl game against Kentucky once, maybe.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he overshot the quarterback.
But that was with Labus. That wasn't even with Petrus.
Labus overshot Lachey in the end zone. You're right. He was open, too. I remember, but it went, whoa. He overshot him. But, no, this game, like I said, my crystal ball, they liked it. Like, it went really well according to them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was really pleased with the pass blocking. I mean, Cade had all the time in the world to get the ball out to where he needed it.
Oh, yeah.
I think he
And
got
on
sacked just once in the entire game.
And the one sack was on the O-line. However, Lachey didn't notice the blitz was coming. He's supposed to cut off his route. He would have been wide open. So Cade was left out to dry on that play because the receiver didn't reckon. Lachey still ran his deep route without noticing the blitz package, right? So that's still things that these receivers have to learn.
They had another play too where they blitzed right up the middle, and that was supposed to be, I think LaShawn Williams was supposed to pick that up, and he ended up going out to the flat, and Cade never stood a chance.
Right. There's a couple plays where, and I know I've had so many messages about how wide open the receivers were that Cade didn't see them, which is true. There was, but also there was receivers that ran the wrong routes as well. Like Seth Anderson messed up a few times running the wrong routes. But like receivers did run the wrong routes, and Cade was like, oh wait, no. Even if they're open, maybe he could have. Maybe he was worried about the pass rush a couple times. He didn't throw it to those wide open receivers on a few times because they ran the wrong route. So it just kind of has to click in your mind at the same time.
He's expecting them to be somewhere, and they're not there.
Yeah. So, yes, you're right. He did have a lot of time to throw, but there was also times when the receivers ran the wrong route, which is these are things that are going to get better as well, right? This offense is not easy to learn. So these receivers had to pick this up. Cade picked it up in just one offseason, right? They've only been here. I did Seth Anderson come in the spring. I think he did.
Yeah.
Who?
I think
Seth, he did. Yeah,
he did. He was here.
Caleb maybe not, but Seth did. Caleb, I think, was hurt. Caleb Brown.
For all the
Caleb Brown didn't come until June.
For the Iowa fans too that are being ornery about things here, the offense was responsible for all 24 points.
Yes. How was the last time we could say that in an Iowa game?
Right?
Yes, I said the exact same thing, Paul. Keep going. Keep saying it.
But yeah, when was the last time we didn't get some type special teams outside of that opening kickoff? Special teams were not special yesterday. We didn't get a punt block or a big punt return, or Torrey Taylor was punting for his life. Like the blocking for the punt team wasn't even all that good. We didn't get now X got a really good interception, right?
Yeah.
That was an amazing play. Lee had an interception, but we were offside. Cooper dropped what probably would have been a pick six, but I mean, again, these are all things that it took us from a good win, a very solid win. The game was never in doubt. If a few of those things come to fruition, it's a blowout win, and people would still be bitching. But
well, let's talk a little bit about the defense. I know that the defense took some hit, and the first team defense only gave up 6 points, 2 field goals. But it seemed like they were giving up a lot of yards.
They gave up a lot of first downs.
Yeah.
They bit a lot. I believe the starting defense gave up 15 or 16 first downs.
Okay.
So they gave up a lot of yards, but their time to talk about Iowa's offense, Iowa had the ball for 33 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The defense was only on the field for 27.
right.
So we can't use that excuse with the defense, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So everybody who's been talking about how great the defense will be, we know they're going to get better. They got their butt chewed this week, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure Phil is not happy.
Cooper will be running the stairs because he said in a podcast that when they have their hands on the ball and they don't complete it, they run stairs at practice.
Yeah, that was probably another reason why he looked at his hands, going, "No, crap.
No, dang it, stairs.
Dang it, go get some glue on those hands."
Stairs. I mean, they still did their thing, but they bent a lot more than they have been, which is what was weird, which is why the defense is getting. But the big key, what they want to focus on correcting is the special teams, because they were not special, right?
They were not.
They opened the game special, but as the game went on, they really weren't that special like they're used to, right? Everything wasn't what they used to, but all of this could become down to the biggest thing was it felt a different vibe after Iowa's offense started off so good.
Right.
It was like you could tell it hasn't happened for so long that they legit felt that, oh no, like we act like we're just gonna roll through this. Players weren't even, I mean, Higgins was doing his thing, obviously.
Yes.
But some of the DBs were getting burnt on easy, just simple, 10-yard out routes when they usually give up 5, right? But they were giving up a 10-yard first down here. Granted, Legis is a pretty good quarterback. Utah State's offense had talent, but they had some new faces as well. So it was just a game that Iowa dominated from the beginning to the end on the scoreboard, the most important thing, right?
Right, yep.
Both teams have to figure things out. Iowa knows what they need to do.
And, I want to answer you, Jared, here with this. And Hack, you can feel free to explain this. It looked to me like Utah State, when they were on offense, I mean, they used sideline to sideline. I mean, they had guys spread as far as you can spread, receivers, and then they were stacking them out there. They were really thinning us out as much, especially the way we want to play defense. They had, and it created some issues for us defensively, which did make it a little bit harder to get after the quarterback. It also opened up some areas of the running game because we had to, have guys 2 or 3 on each sideline, and that only leaves you 6 guys in the middle of the field but they did a pretty good job, all things considered.
Well, right. I mean, they were just on the field longer than which would have helped the offense, right?
Right.
When we're talking about offense complementing the defense, but the defense didn't complement the offense a whole lot, right? This was basically an offensive win, right? Defense did their thing, but they let Utah State hold the ball so long. I think Utah State actually had 19 first downs to Iowa's 17 first downs. So, I mean, like Utah State had the ball a lot that could have went back to Iowa.
If you looked at the stats and erased the score on the stats, and we showed you the stats, you would think Utah State won the game. I think we only beat them in 2 areas.
Well,
score and time of possession. The
turnovers.
rest of it, they were
turnovers.
Turnovers.
How many turnovers did we have?
We didn't have any.
Yeah,
But I mean, did we? How many did we take from them?
Well, we had the X pick.
Yeah, I don't know. They maybe
I think that was the only one, but we still won the turnover battle.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's. But you can go off of that on anything. The same thing. Look at like Iowa State. They won 30-9. But did you see the stat line?
I did not. I meant to go look at it before we did this game today.
They didn't. They didn't win any of the lines, I don't think, and they still won 30-9. Their offense was bad. So, like, we're talking about our offense. They played against UNI, which isn't even Iowa State, which isn't even Utah State, and their offense was bad, which we expected, right? They don't have a quarterback, a running back, all kinds of things, but they still won because of special teams, interceptions. Iowa State's defense won their game. They won their game the way Iowa's used to. I mean, it's just hilarious how we win one game because of the offense and everybody freaks out. It's just so weird. If the defense was the normal defense, Iowa wins this game 34 to 6 or 14, whatever. ISU only has, we have more yards than Iowa State. But you can look across the country. The first game, the reason why coaches, it's a cliche. Everybody gets better from the first game to the second game.
Right.
And you can look across the country at all these teams who played bad that were supposed to be good in week 1, right? Iowa didn't play bad. They played to how the game went, right? I mean, they scored. You and I outgained them by, I mean, I remember looking at it, and I think you and I won every level, and they still lost 30-9. So
you have to be a little bit careful about statistics too, because I mean, when the game still mattered, and it was 24-6, Iowa was in the lead. That's when the stats really. But when Iowa had the last 8 minutes of the game, and we've got our second team guys on offense and defense out there. By the way, Utah State did not put in their second team guys. They were so. I mean, look, they got some trash time stats and trash time points, and
8 of them. They got 8 of those.
Yeah, and Iowa left some points on the field, like we talked about, right? We had the Nico Reganey, Ragaini, that drop catch in the end zone, a really great ball. It was a tough catch. I mean, the angle and everything.
The angle would have been tough. Yeah, we call it a drop, but none of us are catching that ball, right? None of us are catching it, but Reganey should have caught it. He knows he should have caught it, but it would have been a tough catch. The ball was dropped perfect, but if I remember right, it was over the wrong shoulder, so he had to turn, right?
Right.
It would have had to. You'd have been Marvin Harris Jr., right, to really for 100% make that a catch.
So I mean, at the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, a couple of minor things here and there go a little bit differently. This game is a dominant win versus a controlled win. That's what I would call this. This was a controlled win from the opening kickoff. And
no, you're right. They dominated from the kickoff.
Right.
Not one time was Utah State. You can go 7 minutes into the game. It was 14-0. Not one time did Utah State get within double digits of Iowa. I think it was 17-3, right? That was the closest they got. 17-6.
Yeah. 17-6, yes.
Yeah, that was the closest that they got. And then Iowa made it 24-6 and then put all the backups in.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
It was great.
Which, by the way,
let's hit this. Let's hit a couple of these other things real quick. I want to get to Cade. People were saying I did not notice it, and I watched that he left the game limping. Is he okay? Does the crystal ball thinks he's okay, and he's going to be starting against Iowa State?
He's starting. He's fine. Stop with the conspiracy theories. He's cramping up because it's hot.
Okay.
It was 24-6. The game was well in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, they literally played the whole 2 deep after they took Cade out. They didn't just take Cade out. Cade did do something, right, when he when he got away from the defender, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was holding it, but it was hot. He was cramping. He needs to, like Kirk said, like all of the players, they're going to start cramping, and they're going to pull some if they don't stay hydrated and do what they need to do off the field.
Right.
It's going to be tough on Cade when it's hot. And I heard it's going to be like 100 degrees again next weekend in Ames. Yeah. I don't know if that's true. That's
one thing I can guarantee. Jared says 90 degrees with the question, and Kennick, it was probably over 100 on that field.
They said it was 110 on TV.
Yeah,
it felt like 110.
Right.
On the field. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's one thing about that field turf that's different from like natural grass. It seems like that field turf really holds heat in.
Yeah, the tires, all the grind up rubber, and I agree.
Yeah.
And I agree, Ari, with your take. I want to bring in the big fullback Deacon Hill on those quarterback sneaks.
I think so.
I don't see why you wouldn't.
Early.
Because
you said that early, and I thought.
Every time they ran it before, the other team knew they were doing it, right? It was never a secret. So you can bring him out and still do the quarterback sneak on 4th and 1 because they're not going to stop him.
Well, here's
his legs should be pretty good to kind of push through there, and somebody can come from behind and help push him a little bit.
The thing to remember too, people said, well, why didn't we put Deacon Hill in to QB sneak? In the past here, the past few years, when the QB sneak has been effective, it's come with tempo, right? We're not substituting. We're getting to the line. We're not letting them get extra defenders, extra big guys up front. So, there's an opportunity there to just push for the yard. If we bring Deacon Hill in, we're subbing. They get the opportunity to sub. We're pretty much just holding up a big sign that says QB sneak, Deacon Hill, right? So we've lost the element of surprise, the element of tempo, the element of. So
unless you're going against USC, when Iowa did it like 3 straight times and went 15 yards.
And again, but that was all tempo too. They weren't subbing.
I don't know if that was tempo, was it? Did they go tempo to go the 3 straight times?
I felt like they did. Maybe
you mean against USC in the Rose Bowl, and not the Rose Bowl, but Holiday Bowl, right?
God, I wish it was the Rose Bowl.
My son-in-laws were with me. We were watching that on the big screen at some gaming place. Anyway, we were watching it, and they were just like impressive. Jeez, they 5 yards every time they do it. They're gonna ever go to another play. What was it, 3 or 4 times in a row they did that?
Yeah, like that was just a bully ball moment. Just telling USC that you don't belong on the same field. Because everybody was talking about how USC was going to dominate that game because of their speed.
Right.
Okay, one other thing. Did Utah State have what you call the air raid?
No,
because the announcers were calling it an air raid yesterday. And I know they joked early in the game that Iowa was doing an air raid, but we know better than that.
There's so many. I mean, it's starting to drive me nuts. I'm not going to lie. Maybe they have some air raid principles, but they're not like running the 94 concept, the 91 they're not running air raid concepts. Like, it's like, I don't want to get too into it, but no, it's not Mike Leach and Hal Mummy's air raid. These are different things that they're just calling it an air raid. I mean, it's spread, right? Air raid is completely, it's all about numbers. You're doing it. You run you run route concepts. You run the mesh. Like, no, Utah State did not run the air raid. I'm just going to end like that.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that.
There's so many. Have you heard how many times they brought up air raid this year?
Yeah.
Oh, Toledo. It's everywhere. Everybody keeps talking about they're running the air raid. They're running the air raid. I'm like, no, this is not the air raid. They're running maybe some air, like Wisconsin.
I didn't see no air raid on Wisconsin yesterday.
What they do, they run the air raid, but they're not running air raid concepts quite yet, right? Mm-hmm. They're not letting the numbers dictate their running game. Like, every time you run the ball with the air raid, it's because of the numbers in the box, right? The reason Iowa runs to the short side is because of the numbers on that side. So when the air raid, which is usually 70-30, pass to run, it's because of the numbers. If they only have 3 different defensive linemen and 2 linebackers, 5 guys, and you got 5 guys, well, you got man on man, you might run it, right? So, but no, Wisconsin does. They're running more of an air raid, but they're not going to go by the numbers this year. They don't have the receivers or anything like that, and they do have the hog mollies up front. So they're going to spread you out like the air raid, but they're going to run the ball. The receivers aren't going to catch 50 balls. In the air raid, you have 4 wide receivers and a running back. That's your personnel, 4 wide receivers and a running back. And the running back is a pass catcher, right? I mean, sometimes the running back will catch 80 balls to 100 balls in a real air raid. But I didn't see any air raid principles out of Utah State.
Okay.
No.
All right.
They're going to call it the air raid.
Yeah. To answer Jared's question, I would say Penn State had the most impressive because they were probably, in my opinion, the only team that looked like they were ready for the season.
Yep. Did you see my post, Jared, about that? The Big Ten just looked awful. Like in the first half of the Michigan State game is when I sent my post. And I mean, every Big Ten game up to that point, or every team, because Minnesota, Nebraska looked like butt. Michigan State looked like butt.
I'm going to say Illinois had the most impressive, if for no other reason that
their comeback win that they had lost.
Right. Huh?
Because they almost lost and they needed a last-second win.
But they got it
to win that game.
Right. You know, they Toledo is projected to win the MAC, right? So they're not a bad team. And you know, they came through in the clutch and you know, got a I think back to 2009 Iowa against UNI, right? We had to block 2 field goals at the end.
Right.
Sometimes
bring that up, people lose their mind.
Sometimes you got to find a way to win a football game early in the season. So,
and everybody thought at that time Iowa was done. UNI almost beat us. It's over. They went on and won the Orange Bowl.
Yeah. Okay. Here's what I want to point out in one of the other Big Ten games yesterday that kind of struck irony is Ohio State was the highest scoring team in the Big Ten, maybe the nation, last year, and they scored 23 points, which is 1 point less than Iowa scored. So people get off Iowa's back because even Ohio State couldn't do it.
Yeah, they're working in a new scheme too, new quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Not new scheme. I didn't mean to say that. They're working in a new quarterback, and their one really star receiver. It's not like the last couple of years at the receiver spot, but their one star receiver who ended up with 2 catches. How do you stop Marvin Harrison from catching the ball?
Right.
He ended up with 2 catches, like 10 yards or 15 yards. So the quarterback couldn't find him, or Indiana was saying, you know what? We're taking Marvin Harrison with 2 guys. You beat us with somebody else. Right?
Right.
Oh, by the way, too, you know, Ohio State travels to Notre Dame next week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, I mean, this could be a case, too, where maybe they didn't want to show a whole lot. Like, we're going to beat Indiana. We're just more talented than them. You know, let's not show everything we have before we go to South Bend.
I mean, that's always a possibility. Yeah. That's always a possibility. It's simple. They have a new quarterback, Kyle McCord. Make the game plan really simple because we're going to win regardless because we're just way more talented. The only way we lose is with turnovers, right? So you're 100% could be right. I'm not sure either way. But what I saw was Indiana's offense is still terrible. Who knows what their defense is like? They could come out and not win a game the rest of the year. So, I don't take anything from any of these games. My team in the Big Ten that was most prepared was Penn State.
Notre Dame didn't play this week because they played week 0 against Navy over in Ireland.
Yeah. And to Paul's chagrin, Notre Dame won.
No, they played. Notre Dame beat somebody 65-0. I don't know who they played.
Oh, did they play yesterday? Wow.
Yeah, they did. Because
somebody beat somebody like 88-0.
That was.
I thought I saw like Oregon or
Oregon.
Or Oklahoma. Oregon. Oklahoma won like 73-0 against like SEMO.
Okay. Everybody thinks that Michigan State had a better performance than Penn State.
No,
I don't
know. I thought Michigan State struggled most of that game, didn't they?
They did. It wasn't until the second half when things just started falling their way. But yeah, they struggled. They're the reason I wrote my post about how bad the Big Ten was. Because at the half, Michigan State, I don't know what score was, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to some other stuff here, some fun stuff.
Notre Dame beat Tennessee State 56-3.
Yeah. By the way, I think it was Jared or one of the guys much earlier in the comments asked if we were going to talk Iowa State. I just want to say, I mean, we're going to have an Iowa State show coming up this week. We do 2. We do a pre and a post game. So this is the the Utah State post game, but we will have an Iowa State show.
Yeah. You guys will each have because that's one of our 6 picks tonight. You guys will each have an opportunity to mention something briefly about it.
Did you keep track of last week? So we can go over that.
Yes, yes, I did. Okay, this is where I want to get to. I want to get to the fun stuff. And rather than just going over everything, you and Paul are 6-0, and I'm 5-1. I'm the only one that picked you and I to win.
Yeah, but you went by your heart on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I want to say some of the other stuff that we kind of predicted. Our first play from scrimmage, I said it'd be Cooper up the middle, not Cooper. One of you guys said Cooper.
KJ.
I said Johnson would take the ball up the middle, first play of the game, and I think he took 3 or 4 yards.
Don't you remember? I told you were going to win.
Yeah.
Like I already knew they were going to. I found out that that's what they were going to try to do. But like Cade said in his interview, the reason why that's why Cade was so surprised with their second down play call. Did you watch Cade's interview? When he was like, I was really shocked when that play call.
I did not get a chance to watch Cade's interview. I had a lot of things to.
Yeah, he talks about it. It's funny. He's like, yeah, when that play call came in, I was like, okay. I didn't realize they were going to do that. But yeah, they were going to. That's why I already texted you that you were going to win that.
Yeah. You said that Johnson should have 8 yards per carry. He had 3.3.
Yep.
Wet Gin had the highest yards per carry, 7.3.
Yep.
What else do we have?
My prediction was going to be what was a jet sweep for the first play of the game. It wasn't the first play, but we did run it a few times, so there's that.
I believe they ran on the second drive, and he had like a great run on it.
Yeah.
Like 15 yards or something.
Okay, you guys, we each picked our first person who would get the first pass. We were all wrong. You both picked Eric Hall. I picked Regini. And we all know now that it was Anderson.
Yep. It was Seth Anderwood.
And he almost dropped that. That would have been
bad. He
had to lay out for that. He had to lay out for that sucker. That was amazing that he caught it.
It was right there.
He laid out, man.
He came down right here in his hands, but he got it caught in his right arm. So, and then he just kind of rolled over. There was no laying out for it.
He almost video gamed that sucker where, like in the video games where you can be too open to catch it.
Yeah.
He did. That scared me. I was like, why didn't you just catch it? And then the replay you show that it got stuck in his right arm, so he did catch it, but man.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go, guys.
Jared, yes. That's what I'm waiting on, Jared.
What do you want?
The LSU.
Is that when's that start?
It started at 7 or 7:30.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. 6. Oh, shoot.
I don't have it on. I didn't even know it was on. Did USC play today or yesterday? I haven't seen anything on them.
USC won
66 or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
they keep showing them on the now.
I think they played like Thursday night.
I hate this. I live in Pac-12 country. There's a Pac-12 channel, yet YouTube TV won't give us Pac-12 channel.
Oh, wow.
And it won't matter after this year. But USC has played both their games there, and I've been wanting to watch them. Okay. Let's see. I'll bring this one up. I want to pick this next week's games, guys. So
don't we usually do that on the pregame shows?
We can wait if you want to on the pregame. Yeah, I can wait if you want to give it a week. Or
I guess.
No, you're right. You guys are right. You guys are right. I forgot. I got a little ahead of myself.
Well, I mean, if we do it now, we're doing it totally blind. Is that what you want? Like
no. I will save it. So
I will say this.
Are we going to go Wednesday night again to avoid
whatever Paul wants?
I think Wednesday is good. That's a good night to do it.
Okay. Wednesday night, folks, we'll do our pregame Iowa State show. And might be some surprises there for you guys.
By the way, I did want to say this about the Utah State game too. It was nice that we got the backup quarterback in there, Deacon Hill, and he threw back-to-back passes. Like we didn't put him in there with the sole purpose of he's going to just hand the ball off for the rest of the game. No, they stayed aggressive. He even threw a deep ball down the field. It was overthrown, but
yeah, but
times have we seen the backup quarterback come in for the last 2 minutes of a game to hand off the ball twice and take a knee?
Yeah, Regini didn't expect to get the ball. He didn't even run his route.
Yeah.
That was sad to see. And Deacon just threw it up to him, but Regini didn't even try. Like, he was like, what the heck? Wait a minute. Why are we throwing deep? Look at the clock. Yeah, Regini sold him on that. I was kind of mad at him for that. Because Deacon, I mean, he looked to throw the ball. He's like, I ain't messing around. Let's go.
So, it was funny. The last time Florida left the state to play a true non-conference road game was 1991 when they went up to Syracuse and got beat. And then, of course, they said that the last time Iowa opened the game opening drive in the first game with a touchdown pass, 1991. Circle of life, baby. Yeah, I love
Okay, I'm very curious as to why Florida fans could not watch the game.
They could easily. They did.
They were on a national network, right?
Yeah, the game was on ESPN, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Different information.
I remember watching part of that game. I watched part of that game. It should have been easily. If I could watch this, everybody should have been able to watch it.
Well, no, they do black out some teams if you're actually in the area. If it's not sold out.
But it was a road game. It was at Utah.
They do. I've never seen a college football game blacked out, ever.
I forgot about that.
If there was any Florida fans here in the state of Florida that couldn't watch a game, it was because of the hurricane.
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe that was it because of the power situation and stuff.
Yeah.
But everybody just expect a different team come at Iowa State. Just don't go crazy over this game. Stop with the craziness.
Let's just for those that watch the Iowa State game or know a little bit about all the stats. Iowa State scored 30 points, but they only gained 250 yards of offense or less. How did they do it? Did they have short yardage situations like the defense take the ball away at the 2-yard line or something?
They still have a good defense.
Right.
Like, I mean, they're going to come at Iowa, as they should.
So defense set them up in short yardage situations?
And special teams, and, like, they returned a pick six. They returned a pick six. They got a special teams touchdown.
There you go.
The game was on ESPN Plus, so I've watched a little bit of it, but not a lot of it, just because I was too busy in the Iowa game and the games today. This week, I'll actually watch the game.
All right, well,
ESPN Plus.
So here's our reason to panic then. Iowa State's defense outscored Iowa's defense in week 1. Here's our reason to panic, fellas.
Well, this is the good thing. This is what I want. And I can't wait to talk about this. Yes, plus 9, Jared. Yeah. I cannot wait for our pregame show on Wednesday, because this is you're going to see some max protection. Like, this is what I'm happy to see. Like you saw on that final touchdown drive, Iowa went to max protection, right? Which is what they have to do when they're sending 8 guys and you're blocking 6 or 7 guys. You just have to max protect. You know, if they're sending 6 guys and you only have your lineman because you're an empty, I mean, you can't do that unless your quarterback and receivers are on the same page. So expect some max protection again, which means blocking tight ends and running back. Give Cade time and expect Iowa's receivers and tight ends to route Iowa State's defense up. That's if they start coming at Iowa, which is what I expect. I expect them to come just like Utah State.
But it was great to see, with Cade's kind of limited practice time, right, because of the leg and things like that. You could tell he still has, a lot of confidence, really in both tight ends, in Lachey and Eric All. But when Cade, kind of needed to get rid of it. You could tell he still has a real good connection with Eric, and I think that's going to pay huge dividends throughout the season.
Eric's got to wake up though. There's something up here with Eric, like he would miss blocks.
He had a false start.
They would all talk about, like, in practice they got to stop him because he loves the block. Well, in this game he would miss blocks. Like, they have to like slow him down because he's so fired up.
Wow.
But against Utah State, he did not play like that. So, and yet he dropped the ball. I'm glad Kate, he caught his touchdown, right? So maybe now all the jitters of your first game will be out, right? With all these new people.
I haven't seen anything out of anybody in week 1 that leads me to believe that Iowa can't beat anybody on our schedule. I didn't see anybody so impressive, so dialed in, so ready to go, so overtly talented. That's like, oh my God, there's no way Iowa could beat that team. I didn't see it.
Right.
I didn't see it in week 1. Not in the Big Ten.
Yeah, no, not in the Big Ten at all. And we're going to find that out because the best looking team, well, in my opinion, was Penn State. Michigan just took their team to the woodshed as well, right? So we're going to find out. I'm holding judgment until I see him play Iowa State.
Right.
Like, I've talked about what this game meant, and there's just some things that made a lot of sense with what I was told today, as far as, you know, how the Iowa game went. It really did. If you watch it, how my crystal ball feels, it's, I mean, nobody's paying. Everybody was pretty much happy with how that game went because they played the backups. That's what we should be happy about. How many times did we watch a game where the backup quarterback should have came in?
Right.
But never did, right? Everybody talks about, why don't we play backups? They need experience. We're up by 20 or whatever. Well, this game, it was more because of the heat than it was the coaches wanting to play everybody, you know, as what I believe. I could be way off. Maybe that was the plan all along. By
the way, Utah State focused on going after Lee, right? They really wanted no part of Cooper DeJean. Most of it felt like about 85% of their passes were towards Lee, which that's smart. You know, they kind of maybe, you know, smelled a little blood in the water, or they were going to test him.
Right. I mean, that's smart coaching, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's why when Harris gets back against Western Michigan, then they're going to have to pick their poison if Harris is back to what he was, right?
I thought Cohen and Tringer stepped in and played well. He was never out of position. There was no glaring drop off when he came into the game, I didn't think.
No. I mean, I didn't think so either. Castro, gosh, that dude, he just wanted to kill everybody. I don't know how many tackles he missed. He did.
TJ Hall play?
TJ Hall did play.
Yeah, everybody played.
Yeah.
Everybody on the 2 deep played. Plus some others.
Right.
Yeah. No, like Wetjen. I don't even think Wetjen's on the 2 deep. So, I mean,
were you guys surprised that Jamari Harris was the DB that was suspended, the rumored DB? It turned out that there was a DB. And are you surprised that he was the one because of the way they talked about him all season, all preseason? It sounded like he was going to play.
No, I heard it was him. Remember, I talked to you guys about it.
Yeah.
I heard it was him and somebody else, but I didn't believe it. It was from somebody who I don't trust. He's been wrong so many times.
Oh, okay.
So like I didn't put it anywhere except for in like certain people's chats that I, trust that I talked to, right? So
Kirk they asked about that in his thing, and all he would say is he'll be out next week and he'll be back the following week.
Yeah. He'll be back against Western Michigan. I was told it was him. but I did believe it just for simple fact there's people that tell me things that are wrong so often that I pretend like I got, I get the message and I look at it and go, well, I'm not advertising this because I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to just put crap out there and be wrong.
Well, it didn't take long for it didn't take long for it to go around. No, I was told to keep it under wraps, but I could tell my friends, but don't put it on the internet. Before I even got done telling you guys that, it was already on the internet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was being told for a week or so before, but I just didn't believe it. But that's why I was so hardcore about Cade, because I knew for a fact. I was told from a very reliable source, somebody that knows everything that's going on, that that he's going to play. And there was and once he was medically cleared, that he was going to play. I knew it. That's why I spread it everywhere. But the conspiracy theory still came.
Well, that's anyway. Because I think Kirk's more to blame for that by keeping him questionable and being coy about it. And then Cade gets interviewed and he's coy about it. It's like,
yeah, that Cade interview is what made me think. I questioned. I was like, well, because Brian, Suter put something like, this interview is interesting. So, but then I asked the same person. They're like, no, don't. They just don't talk about. We don't talk about injuries with Kirk, right? Kirk just doesn't want you to talk about it. So, that's the bottom line is Kirk knows what the rules are. He's basically built the Bill Belichick of college football. He's not going to tell you.
By the way, was Kirk being a little snarky, even a little like one of these numbers to kind of the fan base by putting Deacon Hill in, like, because last year we talked about was the Nevada game or whatever, like there was no reason to keep running Petrus out there, and we never saw until he finally just got hurt and couldn't play. It was like now this, week one, I was up 24-6, and in years past, we would probably not have put in our backup quarterback. We would have just kind of shut the offense down or whatever. But
that's a good point.
A little bit of snarky Kirk going, I mean,
it could be Kirk's been so positive about this year, it's made everybody wonder. Right. Everybody thought the offensive line was going to come out and dominate because Kirk's been so positive about the O-line. He's usually, like you guys said, very coy about it. But Harris is back after ISU. Yes. Yeah.
I didn't. Again, we talked about the O-line. I didn't think they played that poorly. I just they were running into 10-man fronts
I mean, that's what people don't understand, that you can't block everybody if you're blocking. Like you just said, you got 10 people here and you're blocking with 8. 2 guys run free. Right. You're 100% accurate, Paul.
And they knew what they knew. They kind of knew going into that situation what it was, but they went into that eyes wide open, Yeah.
I mean, that's what. But then the adjustment was, Paul, was the.
I don't know if I'm not even go there.
The max protection. Right? They finally, and when they went to max protect, all of a sudden they couldn't stop Iowa from throwing the football because they couldn't get to Cade. Receivers, they were on the same, and they went right down the field and scored.
Right.
And then they ran a fly sweep because there were so many people in the box. Wetjen had wide open, outside, and like you said, on that outside run for the touchdown, there was nobody there for Caleb. He just basically walked in. Because they were just focused in here.
The other thing worth being excited about, so the first possession, we had the good kickoff return. We had the short field, 2 plays, boom. We showed explosiveness in the return game. We showed explosiveness on offense. Then the second possession, it was a 70-yard legit drive. We went out there, we drove the field, put the ball in the end zone for the touchdown, right? Yep. So those are 2. We did the explosive thing. We did the methodical thing. That was great to see.
Yeah.
Right. Let's address this comparing Cade to CJ. What do you guys think? Either
Well,
one of you.
They're two completely different quarterbacks.
That's what I was kind of thinking. I didn't really compare them.
I can see the comparison. Body size is the same. Neither one of them have a very strong arm. Cade is much more accurate, but it appears to me that CJ. But I mean, I can't say anything about Cade as far as in Iowa's offense, right? I can't make that comparison yet. The only thing I know is Cade is more accurate, but CJ had a stronger arm.
I think after having seen Cade now in an Iowa uniform, he reminds me more of Drew Tate than he does CJ Beathard.
Well, as far as accuracy, you compared him with the guy I compared him with. He doesn't have as strong as arm as Tate either, but he's deadly accurate like Tate was.
Yeah. A little bit of pocket escapability, the ability to move around and make guys, and then, the smarts to get rid of the ball, to not take the sacks, things like that. I mean, we're talking about a guy that hadn't played football in a year plus. So, I mean,
in a year, and people are expecting just gold.
Yeah. He still averaged 55% of his throws.
Well, he threw. It was more than that. Dang it! Don't short him. Wasn't it like 60%?
I thought it was 55. 17 of 30.
17 of 30. It's got to be more than 55 in my head math, anyway.
Well, let's see. I have this old school calculator here. So,
but I like the AD. She's on the. I mean, people are not going to like her because she's on the Ferentz train, and the new AD's already. Well, she's not the AD yet, but she will be. Beth has already came out and said that the points per game doesn't matter to her.
Or I don't.
The only thing that matters is winning. So if Iowa scores 24 points per game, but they still, if they go 10-2, 11-1, like I predict, his job is safe. As long as they go 10-2, 11-1, and win, that 25 points per game doesn't even matter. No, she's
Eric,
not.
She's the interim AD right now.
Yeah, but she will be. She is loved.
56.6, so about 57%.
Okay. I just came up with 55 because it looked like about 55 in my head.
That's pretty close.
My head had 60. It just shows the glass half full and half empty. My head was a little higher.
So.
BFB. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I might give up being a Hawkeye fan if he turns out to be the next head coach.
I wouldn't. I'd be in heaven.
Would
he's
you?
Gonna go. Oh yeah, he's going to be a great head coach. He's going to he knows
he can finally do everything his father wouldn't let him do.
Right. Exactly. No, I think he's going to go somewhere and be a head coach. But pain tolerance wise, well, I mean, yeah, because CJ had, issues all year, but CJ's issue isn't Cade's issue. I'm trying to tell you guys, Cade is just basically like cramping up. Like it's the heat. He will get healthier and better as the weather cools off. Like right now, he just has to keep. I don't know if you guys have ever had like a really bad cramp. Yeah, he did. He stretched something, but there's nothing that's gonna. No, he's fine. I mean, I don't know how many times I know I have to keep saying it because some people feel like want him to be, injured, but he's fine. But you're right, pain wise, he toughed it out, right? It was that one move but he started cramping up, and wasn't that in the late third quarter when he started?
Yeah.
I mean, it was already 3 quarters into the game, and he did have to make a move. And I guess I'm used to cramps because I drank so much pop, before now when I'm starting to try to live a little longer, so I don't drink as much pop. But when you drink a lot of pop, it dehydrates you. It just does.
Yeah.
And so I would wake up in the middle of the night with cramps. I mean, I know what he's talking about, where like my calf, I would sit there and have to punch my calf because it's cramped. And then later on, even during the day, your leg will cramp up if you're doing something. That's the kind of stuff he's going through.
Yeah, my leg used to cramp up at night too, but it hasn't for a while.
but granted, he's playing Division I football, so it looks, he's like, ugh, right? Because if it starts doing it, but there's nothing that's gonna hurt him. Not gonna hurt him the whole season. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Punch my cat.
Oh Lord.
My cat. If I
Cade
punch my cat, he'll attack me.
Yeah, Cade does have a swagger about him that I absolutely love.
Yeah,
And that's
I love
another
that swagger.
that's
I love
another
that swagger.
comparison to Drew Tate. But the thing with Drew Tate was his swagger took him off the rails when he had all that success his sophomore year,
Mhm.
right? Where Cade has that swagger, but it doesn't go overboard. Where if you guys remember all the hype coming in his junior year, Drew Tate's, I mean, Iowa was supposed to be, the best team in the Big Ten, Drew Tate's junior year. And everything just went downhill because Drew Tate literally thought, he was young and dumb. He literally thought he was the greatest ever, and it never turned out to be after his sophomore year. So
I do have a prediction for this week. It's not for Iowa State, but it's just for this week. I think Iowa spends a little extra time on punt protection this week. They're going to shore that up.
Can I ask you guys a question on that? Jason, you can go first on this. Kirk said that with the formation that they had, they were worried about that. And so, did they do a different punt formation than they usually do?
They were doing different things, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they were Utah State was sending like 4 guys at that 3, so they did have that one extra rusher.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying something different, but Utah State came out with something they've never seen on tape, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing about playing week 1 when you have these new coaches, like
coordinators.
You're learning on the fly.
Correct.
And that's what I keep going back to these fans because they just got me so fired up with their ignorance. But that's another thing is they almost blocked a punt. I don't know if it counts as a block because it still went 37 yards.
Right.
And it's because they lined up in a formation that it confused Iowa. That was basically what it is. I don't think it was as much about Iowa doing something different as that Utah State came out in a different punt formation that Iowa wasn't used to. So,
I don't want to call out individual guys but it looked like the long snapping also was less than perfect. There was a couple of low snaps and different things that there was one point that I know Torrey got off that it looked like he didn't even really get to boot into it, and it still went a long way, and he was just lucky to get home.
Yeah, they're going to work on special teams this week, right?
Yeah, Eric, it's the same guy that blocked ours.
Oh, see, maybe, yeah, okay. Maybe there's just
kind of have a knack for it.
Right. He just has that nose for the football, which some people do. But, yeah, if LSU would have kicked the field goal, I'm watching the game right here beside while doing this. That would be amazing. I could totally see Iowa's defense showing up and shutting out Iowa State. That would be amazing for Iowa to put up 27 points like the old days. Like the CJ and Nate Stanley days.
The Sims,
it's an interesting
computer picked. I'm going to tell you what the Sims computer did. It played the Iowa State game for this year. ISU 30, Iowa 27.
There's no way Iowa State gets 30 points against this.
This is what I kept telling Jason all year when I point out these scores. I go, they're not even playing like Iowa would even play the game.
Right. Did they have Hunter Deckers as quarterback? And right?
Mm-hmm.
The difference is
all that before that stuff came out. Yeah.
Yeah. The difference is Iowa State has a true freshman, I believe. He's either a true freshman or a true sophomore. Iowa State's quarterback. I think he's a true freshman that came in.
I think he's a true freshman.
So, they don't have a running back or quarterback with a lot of experience. Who knows how good they are? They weren't good against UNI. That's the only thing I can go off of. So, but we all know there's sometimes things happen. against
Iowa State has a weird way about really not looking good week one, but then they look like a completely different team when they play Iowa in week
They
two.
probably do that to psych Iowa.
Maybe.
Well, yeah,
It's
like that one.
Like, guys, we could beat you and I by 30 points. Just don't look good doing it.
Yeah. It's the same point we just made. I made about Ohio State earlier. If you don't think they weren't peeking ahead, the players peeking ahead to Notre Dame a little bit, they were just interested in going in there, getting out of there with a win against Indiana. And yeah. But how interesting is this, though? So I guess Ohio State's first 2 games are in the state of Indiana. I didn't even really realize that. They literally are
At Notre Dame.
Yeah. So they Indiana at Notre Dame. Huh.
And I have, you heard it here, you guys already know, but I have Notre Dame winning that one.
Yeah, we'll see.
And it's big quarterback related. I mean, Notre Dame they have a stud quarterback with some good receivers, and Ohio State has a new quarterback. I think he's a true sophomore, but he's really good, and he will be really good.
Right.
But it just takes time. I mean, and Notre Dame is a defensive-minded team. Last year, they almost shut down C.J. Stroud, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it was a close game last year, and they didn't even have a quarterback in Notre Dame.
Right.
So, well, did they have Jack Cohn at that time? I don't remember.
Here's the irony. Iowa's favored by 3 over Iowa State. It's like betting on the Iowa State game. Come on, guys.
3.5. Yeah, it's 3.5. But
okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like the irony of it when you consider all the gambling issues that both teams had.
Yeah. But that really means that they think Iowa's 6.5 or 7 points better than Iowa State, because you're going to give them 3 for being at home, which means if Iowa's 3.5 point favorites, that means that they really think Iowa's, a touchdown better than them.
Yeah.
The number I'm interested in is the over under. Take the under, whatever it is, right?
Well, it depends on where it's at, but I agree with you. If it's under 45, then I would take the under, or even 43. I think the total points is going to be in the 35 to 40 range. So, but I would be amazing. I would be I would feel so good if it was like 27-0.
You know what? I want to tell everybody to slow your roll on Colorado.
Yep.
They played against a Big 12 team that plays Big 12 defense, which is no defense.
And TCU didn't have any film of Colorado's offense.
Correct.
They had no clue. They went back to what they did at Jackson State, but these aren't the same kind of players. They didn't really know what they were going to do. I mean, that's the same thing with what Kurt tried to explain as far as Utah State's defense and not really knowing what they were going to do.
And where is this Nebraska?
By the way, Colorado didn't play any defense either.
Right.
Exactly. But it's the same type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, it's week 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, we can't get so excited either way if a team blows somebody out or if they don't.
I think this is just a kind of a wait and see game, see how this goes, because, the hype that Colorado's getting because they beat a ranked team, and Nebraska is already becoming the butt of jokes for Matt Rule's first game being a loss, and they're already,
It wasn't just a loss; it was the way they lost too. I mean,
Yeah.
It was. But these are things we're probably going to talk about in our Iowa State preview show.
Yes, those games are all going to be covered. I have them on my list, so we'll be talking about those games and more.
The Huskers really opened at -8.5. No, what the? I mean,
maybe they did over the summer. Sure. I mean, I don't know.
Over the summer, yeah. I mean, if that's what he's talking about, if you got in on that, boy, that's the easy money right there. I'm not gambling this year, but in my mind, that's not very good right now. That's
one thing that will make that game interesting is they both played legit teams, right? I'm not saying Minnesota is a top 25 caliber team, but they're good, right? They're better than a MAC team. They're better than, you know what I mean? So Nebraska was challenged. They didn't win, but they played a good team. They're going to learn a lot about themselves and that from playing a good team.
And they didn't show much either on defense. They're, like I sent that message that they run that 3-3-5 defense, and they didn't show much against Minnesota. Did you see how simple their 3-3-5 was compared to Iowa State and Utah? Like their 3-3-5 is just weird. Like Iowa State's is just extremely weird, which is why Iowa struggles with it. They struggle with that odd man. We know that, but
right.
But you're right. There's just, I don't know. They didn't show much, so I'm really interested to see how Nebraska, what they're going to show in their 3-3-5 against Colorado now, because now there's tape on people, and there's going to be tape on Sanders, right?
Right.
So I mean, it's easy for him to throw for five. Not easy. That's the wrong word to use. But he threw for 500 yards, but nobody had tape on him.
Right.
Like, that's when you start to get tape on somebody is when you really learn about somebody. So, I mean, I think Colorado probably wins because I don't think Nebraska is very talented. I mean, I had them as a bowl team, but if they're going to – I mean, what's his name? Sims? He threw the ball only 19 times, which is what I predicted they should do. And he still threw 3 picks. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting game.
It will be.
I'm ready. I'm ready for Wednesday, and I'm ready for Saturday. Let's go.
That's right.
All right, let's just tell everybody bye. We'll see them on Wednesday. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was a great show. At one point, we had 8 people watching at the same time, which is probably a new record for us. So thank you guys for coming in and watching. Thank you for the compliments. Thank you for the questions. Just please share it now. Go share it with your friends. Tell everybody what a great show we're having. Thank you, Jared. I appreciate that. I'm going to click it so that that's the last thing people see or the first thing people see.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Eric. Oh, what time Wednesday? Eric wants to know. 6?
At the same time, Paul, okay with you, or does that not work for you?
No, I think that should be fine. I don't foresee any issue with we're talking 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. All right.
All right. I think it'll be a great show, guys. Tune in. Make sure you tell your friends. Share the show. Share it. Unfortunately, we didn't get 500 subscribers by kickoff Saturday. I wish we would have. We actually lost one before Saturday. Gained any. So there's no giveaway, but I will keep this as promise. Once we get to our first 500, we will do a giveaway, even if it takes a year. Right now, I got a pal who has over 1,000, and he's only been doing it for a year on his own, and I don't know how he did it, and I'm jealous.
All righty.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Take care.
Take care. Good night. Go Hawks.
Thanks,